Hi folks, very warm welcome in Theben Studios. My name is Elmar. I'm responsible for technical services and training, and I've prepared today a short session, approximately 15 minutes, with a rather interesting topic, which I call it latching relays. We have extended our product range with a new series of latching relays, and we have to distinguish electromechanical latching relays and the electronical latching relays. As you know and as you are acquainted with, so during our webinars in the last couple of years, this is always a mix of theory, some practical parts, and we will do this today accordingly as well. Yeah, about the functions. For all those people who haven't such much experience with latching relay, I try to explain a little bit how the principle is, how the function principle is of a latching relay. A latching relay is an electrical relay which is alternating. Each impulse which you give, for instance, from such a push button, modifies or changes the current position of the relay. So if the relay is off, press on the push button, relay turns to on and remains in this position. Next door, probably there is another push button, and from next door you can close the light again, so you open the relay again. What if, for instance, if you have current leakage? So that means probably during some working processes, there is a short circuit happens, the fuse trips, however. So what if the fuse is repaired and the current is coming back again? So what happens? So these latching relays remain in their position. I will show you how it is working. So for this process, we change to this technical part of the studio. So we do have here these electromechanical latching relays. You discover here a manual switch for override anytime. So just for testing or just for, let's say, some maintenance. However, you can on off directly on the appliance, or I do have here affiliated a push button to on the light and another push button on another, let's say, door, however, is extended to the latching relay in total. Yeah, so that means pretty simple from the functionality. Yeah. So, but what you need to know is finally, so you can do it finally these kind of alternating switching with, let's say, changeover contacts. Yeah, like we do have here. So that means we do have here the affiliation power is here affiliated to this changeover contact. Currently, there is no total loop, so that means the current is not reaching finally the lamp here. So I have to press on this push button here, relay turns to on, so now the circuit is looped, is closed, and we do have here the lights turning on. If I disappear in the room now here on the right hand side, so then I close the light again, the circuit is open again, and that's it. So pretty simple function. But you know, these are just 2 points, 2 doors, for instance, or 2 levels in a corridor, however, which you can control with these 2 switch-over contacts. If you have to enlarge this installation, so as an example, we do have here a nice corridor in a hotel, and each of these doors is equipped with a switch, with a push button, however, so then it becomes rather difficult in terms of the wiring. So you need a specific cross push button which you have to inflate here in between, then you can extend. And if you want to extend again, so then you have to spend another cross switch and another switch over switch. So it is rather complicated. So you need minimum 4 wires finally, which you have to loop within the entire, in this case, corridor. So it is a little bit complicated, yeah. There is space to do some mistakes. With latching relays, it is by far more simple, more facilitated. However, you see the wiring here. Here we do have here our OKTO S12/230 volt operation. You discover here, so this push button here is coming or is ignited by the line. And if you press the push button, so the gate, the input here is giving us an impulse. The OKTO, the latching relay, is switching on and giving finally these lights here the reasonable power to light on. The wiring is by far rather simple. Yeah. So what if you have to extend? Yeah. Same example like I tried to show up the slide before. So how it is, how complicated or how easy it is to extend, to add further more push buttons, I will show you how it operates, how it works finally. For that purpose, we go back to our technical board. And for this purpose, I have prepared some. I disconnect now currently for my exercise the main power. And I take here the two cables. These two cables here finally are exactly parallel to this push button here. Okay, so I have here an extension, 3 push buttons, yeah, 1, 2, 3. And I have here just the inputs and the outputs. So, and I loop just these push buttons here to our existing push button, like here. Like here, and then I take this one and I just affiliate the extending push buttons to this. You see how it works? Just operating in parallel. Now I give the main power again to the station. We do the testing. Manual override works. Switching on, switching off, it works. Now I have extended here, switching on here, switching off there, switching on here, you see it works. What if we do have current leakage? So I simulate now, so I off now the power here. After power leakage, we do have again power, you see immediately we do have here the last stages of the light before the current leakage. So how simple it is and how simple the operation finally is, you discover here rather easily. So I disconnect this again and come back to the studio. So that means you got it immediately, how simple it is, the extension, not complicated wiring. Yeah, so it's really easy stuff. What you need to know probably, so how many lights I can apply to these latching relays from Theben. So on these mechanical ones, you can apply up to 200 watts of LED. You do not need any auxiliary relays. You do not need any spacing next to it for the auxiliary relay. 200 watts LED is rather much. Okay. So if you are interested and you want to know a little bit more about how is the technique inside, I will share some details with you. For this purpose, I open another camera. And you see here now this OKTO, this latching relay, and this is the inside. So just to show a little bit how it works, how it operates. So manual overriding, you see here, we do have here the contact. With this specific mechanic stuff, we close the contact. We have here a kind of self-holding position. And in case of power leakage, it remains due to this mechanical locker. And when we get another impulse, so this copper core is ignited, so then this copper core opens the contact again. That's it. So rather simple principle, yeah, but I have to say magnificent how simple this technique is, but nevertheless how powerful it is. Yeah. What is the big advantage of this mechanical stuff? Pretty simple. You do not need any standby power. Electromechanical latching relays and even our electromechanical staircase timers, the ELPA series, does not have any standby power. Just in the event, when you press a push button, then we need a short impulse, a short energy to start the process. That's it. Okay, you got me? Yeah, and we do have here the second appliance, which is the OKTO S22, and you discover here over my shoulder, so there is obviously an appliance which is equipped with two relays inside. It is exactly like that. What does it mean, or which options you can fulfill with it? I would like to describe it in such a way. So in the background you discover here a staircase. And I assume you know that the power of a building is distributed into the different energy lines, line 1, line 2, line 3. And just imagine in corridor 1, the affiliation, the wiring is for instance linked to line 1, and the second floor here is affiliated with the line 2. Okay, you got me? Two different levels, two different, let's say, power sources. And but probably when you enter the corridor or this staircase, for instance, you press a push button and you want to light on all the lights in the staircase, not in the corridors, but in the staircase. So for that purpose, you have to be able to control two different lines. Either you can do it by a separate relay to do that. With this solution here, the OKTO S22, you can do it accordingly, all in one. You do not need any auxiliary relays, you do not need any spacing, any additional wiring, all in one. Floor 1 on this contact, floor 2 on this contact, and the push buttons, for instance, you affiliate here directly to A1, A2, and that's it. Okay, you got me? Rather simple, yeah, and clever. And what is the other option? The other option is rather simple. So if you take care about, let's say, safety in installation, in wiring, however, you can apply on this relay phase, line 1 or line 2 or line 3, however, and the second contact you apply neutral. In the event if you off the latching relays, so there is no potential at all on the output 1 and terminal 3 here. So for instance, to replace the lights, if a light is broken or however, there is no wiring, there is no connection to the power. This is the second option, which you do have finally. Okay, you got me? Two options. Yeah, so as a summary, you see how simple it is finally if you have one or two push buttons and you have to extend the function, just affiliate it in parallel. No problem at all. If you want to extend the wiring, same stuff here. You have just to operate in parallel, to extend in parallel, and be reminded. So in total, 200 watts of LED. It's a lot. Rather much of energy, of power, which you can control directly. What you need to know further on, you know that some of these push button surfaces can be illuminated by a fancy little LED, so that it is easy during your night walk in the corridor, in the staircase, however, and it is not automated by a presence or by a motion detector. So you see a small fancy light, and that's a push button which you can press, and then you open the light. Okay? This fancy little light needs some power, and the electromechanical latching relays from Theben support you with, in total, the allowance to apply maximum 3 milliamps in total, summary, okay? But, you know, no standby power, 200 watts of LED, and easy to install, finally, and manual override, not to forget, okay? So, let's have a look on the electronical ones. So, on the first glance, what you discover, there aren't any manual switches to open or to override manually, okay? Could be probably a disadvantage, however. But what is the big advantage of electronic latching relays finally? Noiseless, yeah, or almost noiseless finally. Yeah, that's good to know. Electromechanical stuff always create a little bit noise. The electronic ones are almost noiseless. If we watch carefully on the wiring, we discover here the wiring is equivalent to the electromechanical one, or almost equivalent, rather simple. Definitively more simple than changeover contact or cross contact, however. And the extension you can do here is same, like I displayed here in this small practical part. Okay? The function in general, same. You have a relay, which is alternating between on and off. Each pulse change this current position from on to off, from off to on, however. Pretty simple. The second one, the ES12/UC, universal current. So that means we do have two inputs, which puts you in the position that you can start or stop the light from two different points locally or from two different potentials from the power. As an example, you do have here, for instance, 230 volt from the corridor, and we do have here, for instance, the low power input or high power input, depends, it's up to you. You can start from this point here or from this point here. So this low voltage input, the DC input, you could use, for instance, for door communication stations. Why? Door communication stations in general are installed somewhere outside, protected from the weather. In general, yes, but outside. And in general, these door communication stations are communicating or working, acting on low voltage, self voltage. So between 8 and 24 or 48 volt, for instance. And this you can apply directly here on this separate input here, you see. Okay? So that means either if you're coming from the inside, leaving the area of the staircase, or if you come from the outside, coming in, entering the staircase, two different potentials, you can start these latching relays. So what does it mean in general? So for that purpose, we go back to our panel, and I've prepared some again. So that means the electronic ones. So these two here, I have applied to these push buttons. So that means, first of all, giving back the power. So this I open, so switching on, switching off. From the perspective of noise, you do not hear anything. So this is 230 volt latching relay, low voltage. Low voltage I am applying now. So for that purpose, you discover here, I have two different cablings coming from, especially from this input here. Yeah. So I put the cable aside. So exactly here. And you discover definitively, I do have here a power supply giving me 12 volt. And now I apply these cables, these low voltage input to my power supply. I have here just a small push button, and if I press now here, so just by the low voltage input I can switch, or from high power I can switch here on off, however. You discover, rather simple. What you have to care about, and for that purpose I modify now my wiring. I change just the polarity, because when you come with DC, so then you have to care about that the polarity is okay. So now you see the function is not given because I have changed the polarity, plus and minus is mismatched. Okay? Care about that, but you see how simple finally it is, and for which purpose finally you may use this separate input here of the UC version. Yeah, what other application probably are possible with electronical solution with a specific input here. So input here on top. So let's assume we control all these lights in this small apartment or hotel room, however. And each of these, let's say, different sectors of this apartment. Here, for instance, the bathroom. Here, the main lights. Here we do have the bed lights or the separate bed lights, however. And all these lights are controlled by different latching relays with separate push buttons, however. On the head side of the bed, you do have here a specific push button, which is linked to these low power inputs. And when you close this, or when you press on the push button, so then all the statuses of the reasonable lights here in the room will change from off to on, from on to off, however. So in an ideal manner, you have a kind of central off light in this hotel room. Advantage, you don't have any 230 volt directly next to you while sleeping. You separate high power to the rest of the room, and low power you do have here next to your bedroom. or your bed itself. Okay, you got me? Could be an option. Yeah, as a short summary, in total again, you see some swiveling upon my head, 600 watts of LED. Yes, you read right. So these electromechanical octos, so the latching relays, they have specific technology inside, which Theben has since many, many years in his KNX appliances, in his smart home Luxor living appliances, in all our time controllers and so on. And we are good in that, what we are doing, so we can manage 600 watts of LEDs directly with these small fancy latching relays. And supplementary, we support these illuminated push buttons up to 100 milliamps. So that means you can apply 50, 60 of these push buttons illuminated directly affiliated to these latching relays. So in this case, we are best in class. Best in class in the glow lamp load, best in class in the power, in the switching power, definitively. And in regards of the standby consumption, 0.3 watts, we are absolutely fulfilling the normative regulations from the European Union since many, many years. So we are on the bottom end of the self-consumption. Okay? So that means absolutely powerful controller. Here you have a selection table which distinguishes a little bit on one glance. So what is the advantage of the electromechanical ones? What is the advantage of the electronical ones? You got it. I do not have to repeat it again. And what is your conclusion? What is the result of this introduction? The best latching relays are named OKTO, coming from Theben. See you next time.